Hello, Money Queens and listeners. Welcome to Women Behind the Millions. Let's meet the women behind the millionaires, the women supporting, guiding, celebrating women with their wealth. You will hear from women millionaires, how they got there, what they wish they had known, what got them to be a millionaire, the emotional side, the spiritual side, the practical side of wealth. You'll also get to meet the women behind the scenes helping make it happen. Let's dive into Women Behind the Millions. I am Jessica Weaver, your host, bestselling author of 3 books, wealth advisor, and founder of the Women's Wealth Boutique. Let's start meeting the women. Hello, Money Queens. Welcome back to another episode where we are bringing to you the ladies of Financial Trendsetters 3. You'll see on here there is a QR code where you can jump on and get your free guide to getting your voice out there and amplifying that voice. What is that mission? Is it through podcasts, TV shows, books? We want to get it out there. Tonight is all about from survival to strength, finding out what you're truly worth. Women often underestimate their own financial value during times like divorce or transitions, especially during moments of emotional vulnerability. This episode is going to explore what happens when women stop accepting what's less than she deserves and rewrites her own future. I am so excited to have with us Amy Frank Goldman. She is a mom, a wife, and founder and president of AFG Wealth Management. Her passions include making the pieces fit together, helping others, and bringing peace of mind to her clients. As a recovering wholesaler, we'll get into that too a little bit. She's seen both sides of the business and is a wealth of knowledge. So let's bring it to the stage Amy. Hello, Amy. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's so good to see you with your iconic glasses. Always love it.
Always. I gotta have the trademark, right?
Yes. Yes, you had an amazing chapter in Financial Trendsetters 3. What was it like going through the process of writing the chapter, getting your story and your client's story out there?
I have to tell you, it came pretty naturally to me. It's just a question of which story to tell, right? Because there's so remarkable stories with the women that I work with, and really, for decades and decades, there's been a disconnect between what we're capable of handling from a financial standpoint and what we believe we're capable of handling from a financial standpoint. And so this is a story that's played out in so many different ways within my practice. And I was really excited to share the story of how things unfolded for that particular client. So.
Yes, it's such a great story and a relatable story too, because you hear it happening all the time. So thank you for shining some light to it. I mean, one of the quotes, I didn't even know what we had to give the women a perspective. Take us back to this moment and share with us the story that you have in your chapter.
Sure. I mean, really, the story is of a woman who, just had a kind of a blind trust in the relationship that she had with her husband. And it wasn't just with their family, but it was with her belief that he was building a future for both of them and for their kids, and a belief that he was, a really nice, upstanding guy, which didn't really turn out to be the case, So I think what inspired me to choose her for the story was she came from a place of really zero knowledge from a financial acumen, right? And just really had no idea what she was going up against. And he had a significant financial knowledge because he worked in finance. And because of that, she was at a bit of a disadvantage. And I don't think that she even knew what that disadvantage was when she came to see me. In fact, she came to see me on a recommendation. And the conversation was really like, oh, I'm supposed to have this conversation and I really don't think I'm going to do anything about it. But, my friend urged me to come in here and talk to you anyway. So here I am, right? And as she starts telling me her story, I'm just like, wait a minute, this is not okay. This is not even remotely in the same category where a world or planet or universe is okay. I'm like, I knew as somebody who's been in the industry for as long as I have, the directors at that particular firm made X amount of money, and what he had suggested would be their settlement was nowhere near that, what would have been fair in that scenario. So it took a little convincing, and it took a pretty gut-wrenching experience for her to come to the place where she decided that she wanted to make moves on her own and obviously pursue something other than what he had suggested. But I really feel so grateful that I was able to help her through that process, even though I didn't even realize I was helping her. I think that's one of the things about the story that's most powerful to me. You can have these conversations with people and you never know the impact that you're having. And that is something that can be applied to almost any standard of life. You could see someone in a coffee shop and say hello and strike up a brief conversation with them and never know how meaningful that conversation was for them. They could be having the worst day of their lives, but because you stopped and said hello to them, it took them to a place where they were able to get out of their head for a moment, readjust, recalibrate, and kind of move on from that moment. And so I feel like that's what happened with that particular client. She had that information from having met with me. She had that jarring moment, that experience with her children. And all of a sudden, okay, I didn't even know that, but now I do. And he did that. Guess what? Here I am. So it was an empowering story. It was also a reminder that information is power. And if you're not looking for it, there's a lot of really easy ways to do that. She was lucky enough, and I was lucky enough to be the one to empower her with that information. But there's so many different venues that people can take and different ways that they can approach that to make it something that when they have that information, they have more empowered, they have more power in any situation, right? So we live in a world where ChatGPT has replaced Google. And there's so much, and now chat's not always right. I want to put that out there, but there's so much information at your fingertips, and that didn't exist 10, 15 years ago. And so we look at that and we look at the progress that women have made in general. And it's really just inspiring to know that we really can do it all if we choose to. So
if we choose to, yes. And what's great about the story is how many things are happening everywhere around us with women, that power dynamic, that shift when he's bringing the money home, he's handling the overall financial picture. She might be doing the day-to-day bills for it, her feeling naive about money. And maybe nobody knows what's going on behind closed doors in a marriage, but for her to think about accepting such a small settlement that would put her daughters in financial jeopardy, I'm sure there was some manipulation around it. And I don't know about you, Amy, I hear women all the time saying, like, I don't want to shake the boat right now. I'm trying to think what's best for the kids. I don't want to upset them or try to ask for more. They're and it's almost like they're being told, this is the best you're going to get. I'm so nice to be even offering this to you.
There was, and this, I didn't go into this in the book because I just felt like it was an additional detail, but there was a mother-in-law who had substantial wealth, and his positioning was, oh, my mother will take care of their college. My mother will make sure they have anything they want. You don't need to get that from the divorce agreement. So like there was another piece to that as well that was kind of like, wow, like it was very manipulative. It was. And I'm grateful that she found, I just felt like the ending was so great too, because the karma piece of it, where the kids are like, let's play the lottery. And she's like, okay. And she ends up, it was like, what? Like, how does that even happen? So I feel like the karma gods came down and they were like, here you go. Because you were handed like this really unpleasant experience. You fought your way through it. And here's just another little icing on the cake for you. I just think it was so good.
It was like a movie theater moment. Hollywood ending. Nice. It was so amazing to see. She won, $2 million in the lottery because her daughters on a whim wanted to play.
Isn't it wild?
Incredible. I want to go back to, you mentioned this pivotal moment when she decided, I'm not going to accept this initial low ball, extremely low. I don't even think that gives it justice offer, and do something about it. What do you think changed for her mindset, or what? We know in the chapter what happened, but what do you think that did to herself personally to make her want more?
And this is something that I systematically see with women going through transition, whether it's the loss of a husband. I have a very good friend who recently lost her husband. And whether it's through grief or through, I would almost say depression. Because when you make the decision that you're going to spend your life with someone, and then that's upended, and all of a sudden you're here trying to figure out, what does my life look like now? I don't even know what does it like to do food shopping? Are my vacations still staying at the JW Marriott, or should I be looking at the Spring Hill Suites? Or, is food shopping going to be at the ShopRite with coupons, or can I continue to go to wherever I was going before? So like they're trying to process, what does my life even look like? And while they're going through that process, for her to have stumbled upon that situation. I'm a big believer in the universe. I've already referenced it once in our conversation. I believe that she was meant to see that happen so that she could embrace the power that she had and make the decision to be the person that she needed to be for her girls, right? And for herself. It's not just her kids, right? So it just becomes this conversation where in your mind, oh, this is what he thinks is fair. He knows better. And without getting into too much, there are 20, 40, 70 years of unintended bias that are still layered in the conversations that we have with our clients today. I can tell you, as the president founder of a financial wealth management firm, I was told by my high school counselor that I should go to steno and consider being a court reporter. When I told them that I wanted to go into finance, and they thought I was insane, right? And here I am, if only they could see me now, right? But I think that we are, I don't understand money. That's my husband takes care of that. It's whether that is pervasive today for all or just some, the some where it is still pervasive, the opportunity to educate, the opportunity to empower, the opportunity to explore and become more fluent in that type of information is something that we should be seeking. And because we've been told for decades that we're not capable of doing that, there's this mental block. And so for her helplessness and her anger, really, and her hurt drove her to a place where she said, you know what? Let's buckle up, Buttercup. Here we go.
Buckle up, Buttercup. Do you think that's why intelligent women still avoid financial confrontation and conversations?
I certainly do. It's been unfortunately. And this was what 1972 when women were allowed to have a credit card. It's wild. We weren't allowed to have a credit card before that. Land ownership is something that was within the last 50 years, right? So when you think about those things, divorce was frowned upon. Women in the 50s, 60s, and even so part of the 70s. If you got a divorce, you were part of a broken home, right? So that was
that label.
And that label still exists today within certain people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do think that there's a mindset that exists in the world for people that discourages them. But there are companies out there making great strides. I mean, obviously you and I are doing what we can on our little level, right, on our small scale. But there's multi-million-dollar corporations that I direct people to all the time that have websites that have their own section on women and money. They put up a statue on Wall Street of a defiant girl. There's things happening, right, like that are making us realize that we have that power, that we can embrace that we can move forward with those types of conversations.
Yes, exactly. I love that, Amy. We're going to take a quick look at Financial Trendsetters 3 before we continue this conversation with Amy and talking about her career. She pivoted from being a wholesaler, and we want to talk about both sides of the industry. What if money wasn't separate from who you are, but an extension of how you live? Financial Trendsetters 3 brings together powerful women from across the financial industry who are redefining leadership, wealth, and legacy on their own terms. Led by Nora Gillis, this book features the voices of Amber Bentley, Sarah Elia, Tanya Cleaver, Vicky Beam, Maple Crew, Karen Santini Clemens, Sarah Branston, Kimberly Corsett, Leah West, Colleen Goodwillie, Amy Frank Goldman, and Jessica Weaver. Women who are integrating money into the full picture of life, not treating it as something separate or intimidating. These stories are honest, they're human, and they reflect what's possible when women lead with authenticity, value, and purpose. Even more meaningful, proceeds from this book help fund a scholarship for a woman entering a career in finance, supporting the next generation of leaders in our industry. Financial Trendsetters 3 is more than a book, it's a movement, and it's here. All right, we are back with Amy, and we're just talking about from the generations, 50 years ago, women couldn't get a credit card in their own name, own land. And well, we're just taking a look at the book. It made me think we had the Fearless Girl statue in that. We were just talking about that too, Amy. But for your client, if she had just accepted that initial offer, that would have continued that trend going forward.
Yes.
But by her standing up for her worth, her value, she shifted that for her daughters to see. I think that's pivotal moment for us to show that next generation, what women can really do with wealth. What is our true value, and what an empowering moment that you probably didn't think about, but you and I know that made an impact on her girls' lives.
For sure. For sure. And I also believe that there's a piece of that. So I have this conversation often with clients. Clients will come in for a consult. We'll talk about their investments, and you probably have an experience. They want to talk about money. What this is by having invest loss. This is my 401k. This is what I have in savings. Start of the 401k. We talk about how do you save money. Oh, this is what I automatically have it at my paycheck for 401k. Okay, are you saving for yourself? No, I'm not. We'll set something like that up. One of the things we don't always ask our clients is, where did you learn your money habits? And very often I get a very insightful answer. And when I ask that question, I would say 9 times out of 10, the answer comes within 30 seconds. Oh, I had an uncle, I had an aunt, my father, my mother, my sister, and people know where they got the habits that they have today from. And I think the point that you're making, when they see their mom empower herself and stand up for what she deserved and stand up for what was right, then they'll see the way she spent that money and invested it and cared for their home and built a garden and spent the money on them taking belly classes and maybe not necessarily on, things that were maybe frivolous, right? So they got to see things that she was doing and set that example for her. And so beyond just setting the example of standing up for ourselves and standing up for what's right, we're setting an example at how our next generation can act around money.
Yes. The values around it, the values, the habits, and for it, that gets passed down, and it starts at an early age. So they're probably right when they were witnessing their mom go through it too, and being financially empowered and responsible and caring and generous with it as well. Well, Amy, I'd love to pivot to your career in finance. You started out on the wholesaling side. Now, some of our audience might not know, what does that even mean? People who are in the industry know you were the people supporting the advisors with investments and strategies around that as well. What pulled you into the industry?
Oh, I came into the industry so many years ago. I'm not going to date myself and tell you how old I am, but I'm much older than you. I started in the industry on the retail side, actually, at Fidelity Investments. And a couple of twists and turns took me to the wholesale side. And wholesale, typically, when people think of wholesale, they feel like someone's selling something at a discount to the end provider, right? So you think of like a wholesaler groceries or wholesale paint or whatever, construction materials. It's similar on the financial services side. So what I was selling was investment products, and my client was financial advisors. So I worked for Oppenheimer, worked for Fidelity Investments, Alliance Bernstein, and so all these big firms were looking for someone that could go out, meet with financial advisors and say, hey, if you're going to sell a large cap growth fund, sell mine because XYZ. And mine's better because ABC, right? So forth, whatever the reasons were. And through that experience, I got to see firsthand how a lot of advisors interacted with their clients, what kind of relationships they had. I got to see the habits of the successful ones and the unsuccessful ones. I got to see the love and care that some of them had for their clients. I got to see the ones that were more motivated by commissions and financial, which was also a big, bright, eye-brightening experience for me, eye-opening experience. So when I went through the process of moving from the wholesale side to the retail side, I did so because I had my daughter. And I have a husband who travels for a living. And I made the intentional decision that we wanted us to be home with our kids every night. We didn't want to be that and so forth. And so this is for me to make that change. And when I made that decision, I had spent so much time interacting with a lot of different firms, the Merrill Lynches of the world and so forth and so on. And I had been at board meetings where they discussed the financial agreements between those firms and the products that were on their platforms. And it became very clear to me that it was important for me to be independent. So like yourself, I wanted to be able to make recommendations based on what was the best for the client and not what was best for the firm that I was working for. Yeah. So that took me to the independent side. That was kind of the independent side. But the switch from wholesale to retail really was a strategic switch for our family so that I could be really present in my daughter's life. And you'll often find me outside of my daughter's cheer gym. She has 2.5 to 3 hour practices with my laptop in the car getting work done. I'm an unpaid Uber driver, but I have really good ratings. But so I'll drive to practice. I'll be in the computer in the car. I actually purchased this little desk that I have for the passenger seat, and I get work done. And then when she's done, we head home. So you make the changes that work for you in your practice, and that's a couple days a week, but 5 days a week, I'm here accessible to my clients, to help them realize their financial dreams, to help them see the road ahead, mitigate the blind spots, help them get through those stop signs carefully, right? So the goal was really to be able to connect with humans and help, again, put the pieces of the puzzle together, because that's where it makes sense.
Yes. And thank you for sharing that, because I feel this is a great industry for women. We can make it our own. We can be flexible. We can squeeze it in. Like you said, we prioritize being there for our children and getting them to these activities while still showing them my work matters. And I can prioritize both and get both done in a day. It might look different every day, but we can still get it done.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, Amy, we have one more question for you as we wrap up our time with you. It has flown by. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
What makes you a woman behind the millions?
What makes you a woman behind the millions?
I'm going to go back to that love and care, because I genuinely care for all of my clients. I'm very blessed to have a book of clients who I really feel that I have a personal connection with all of them. And so understanding their situation and what triggers them and what makes them feel comfortable and what makes them happy and what their goals are and all of those things that go behind it. That is the reason why people trust me with their assets. The reason why I am the ambassador of the Quan, if you will, if I'm stealing from Jerry Maguire. That is why I am in this position. So.
Yes. Amazing. I do have another question for you, because I'm curious, seeing the whole sides part of the industry. And thank you for sharing about those, right? Those more captive wirehouse firms. There's a reason that they're offering certain products. There is a conflict of interest in there. Where do you see our industry going? You choose to be independent. We choose to be independent. What do you see happening with other advisors?
I mean, there's no secret. There is I don't hate to use the word bloodletting, but it's definitely accurate in this scenario. There is a large percentage of individuals moving from the wires to the independents. And I think that they found, for a number of reasons, obviously compensation is part of it, but I would say a very large part of it is because people are just really in a position where they want to be able to give the clients the best advice, and they don't want Big Brother determining what can be offered and when. So I think that that's a very big part of it.
Yes, sure, Amy. We've learned so much from our time with you, talking about, the blind trust and feeling like you're building something together and then the rug getting taken out from under you. The power dynamic. And it's interesting, right before this, I had a call with an advisor who she wants help with getting a book out there on women being the breadwinners. And the husband's not. And that is a trend that we are seeing for it. But I think the biggest piece is that first offer is rarely the final offer. And to not just accept it.
Yeah. My grandmother always said that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And to get educated, which is what your clients do. And when people utilize your networks, utilize those professionals. Your friends are great to vent to get hyped up about, or to cry to. But utilize the professionals in your court, because it was a difference between, I think, $150,000 and $1 million of indifference.
It was a huge difference, yeah.
And if you want the whole story, you're going to have to read Amy's chapter in Financial Trendsetters 3. Thank you so much for being on here, Amy. It was a pleasure. Your chapter was incredible. The happy ending was amazing to read about, that Hollywood storybook ending. And thank you for being a part of our Trendsetters family.
It was my pleasure.
And thank you, ladies, so much for tuning in to another episode of Women Behind the Millions, our Trendsetters series. We will see you next Thursday at 7 p.m. Bye, ladies.
Hey, money queens, looking to get your wealth to that next level, 7, 8, 9 figures? Follow us on Instagram at PinkFixMyMoney and at Women's Wealth Boutique for more millionaire money tips.